Good afternoon. Welcome on this Holy Thursday. We've been journeying through Holy Week, and Jesus is making it apparent we cannot hide from our humanity. Today we read a story from John's Gospel that is filled with moments of raw and relenting humanity. Let's read John chapter 13, verses 1 through 17. It was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world and to go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The evening meal was in progress, and the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter. He said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand." "No," said Peter, "you will never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." "Then, Lord," Simon Peter said, "not just my feet, but my hands and head as well." Jesus answered, "Those who have had a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body is clean. And you are clean, though not every one of you." For he knew who was going to betray him, and that was why he said not everyone was clean. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. "Do you understand what I have done for you?" he asked them. "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you should also wash one another's feet. I have set an example that you should do as I have done for you. For truly I tell you, no servant is greater than the master, nor a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them." The word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Jesus and the disciples were gathered to share the Passover meal together. To really appreciate what it means for Jesus to wash the disciples' feet, we must understand the social structure of the time. When people were invited to dinner in Jesus' day, they always had to walk through dusty roads, and this left their feet very dirty. It was customary to be greeted at the door with a towel and a basin and water to wash your guests' feet and their hands before a meal. Of course, it was not the host of the dinner who would wash the guests' feet. It was always the unnamed servant, the slave. Jesus physically takes on the role of servant. Jesus is getting real with his disciples. He is putting all of who he is into being a servant. Jesus is saying to his disciples, "This is how my followers will live their lives." This freaks them all out. It really makes them uncomfortable. Jesus is saying, unless I wash you, you have no part in me. Unless you are willing to put your whole being into living out the power of vulnerability and committing to lifting up the least among you, you have totally missed the point, and you do not have a place here. The essence of the gospel, the one picture Jesus wants to leave his followers before he heads off into the dark night which leads to the cross, is to give up your lives to serve the least among you. That's the essence of the Gospels. I believe that we want to run through Holy Week to get to the empty tomb because it shields us from the messy, dirty, selfless life Jesus is calling us to live out of. Jesus is clear here. Jesus washed all of the disciples' feet, even Judas. Even Judas, the one who would betray him. And like the disciples, we can't stand that. This whole week we have watched Jesus live into the raw reality of the human experience. He drags his disciples and us kicking and screaming the whole way. Jesus wants us to be honest about the pain and the failure and the imperfections of our humanity. Jesus wants us to love each other because that is how people will know that we are his disciples. But notice the use of one little word here at the end of the gospel. The word is if. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them. There's no doubt that you and I know these things. So I guess Jesus leaves us here with a choice. Will you love your neighbor? Will you even love Judas? Will you get real about the pain and the beauty of human life? Will you offer yourself up in vulnerable, transparent ways to live into authentic relationships with people and God? I hope that you will. I pray that you will. I pray that I can live into those moments. May God bless you through this day. Amen. Have an awesome day.